All right, let's get started. Names list workshop number 2. We've got a lot of stuff to cover. First off, I want to start by going over a little bit of review. Okay, so we'll do that here in a moment, the review from last week's. But we're gonna do a little exercise first. So I'd like full participation. All right. Here's the exercise or the thought process that I want you thinking about. All right. So what I mean by this is I need you to kind of strip away where you're at right now in terms of your names list. And I want you to kind of play along with this scenario. All right. So hypothetically, you have 200 callable leads. All right. So go ahead and write down 200 fresh resources. Write that down in your notes real quick. I'm going to have you do some math here. So 200 fresh resources. Okay. If you had 200 like ready to roll, not leads that you've called through 14 times, right? Not, I see some head nods, right? So I'm talking about like fresh, callable, ready to go. Okay. If you had that and you showed up at the all-day phone jam, okay. So the all-day phone jam, we make, if we haven't explained the all-day phone jam, you know, it's the best, worst day of the year, right? So we basically are making 20 to 30 calls an hour. You might think like, whoa, that's a lot. It's not when you're in person. It's really not, because everybody's doing it. And we go from 9 o'clock until 2 o'clock. And seems like a lot, but it actually goes really fast because every hour on the hour, we're taking a break as a team. And so you're pounding out more calls than you've ever made before. So by the time that we get to 2 o'clock, you've booked a lot of demos. We take a 3-hour break for food, exercise, and then food and exercise. And then we get back at it from 5 to 9. So if you showed up all day phone jam with 200 fresh callable leads and you called all 200, I want you to estimate how many appointments would you book from that. Now, many of you, so here's where you got to do a little bit of math. Now, once in a while, you'll look at it and be like, well, I book, you know, when I'm making phone calls, it might take me 5 calls to book a demo. Right? That might be yours. Well, 5 calls to book. Now, again, keep in mind, these are fresh leads, which means they typically go better, right? In other words, your ratios are a little bit better. So if you were at 5, that means that you'd book 40 demos. Okay. So go ahead, write that down. If you're like, nah, I think I'm more like, it takes me 6 to 7 calls, then you'd be about 30 to 33 demos. And we're just talking about the first week. What I can tell you is the second week of the push, almost everybody grows their sales. Okay, this is going to sound, you know, this is like a fast start. When I talk about fast starts, where I'm like, it never goes 1,000, right? Like there's an upward trajectory as you're getting better. The same thing happens in a push period. I was asked recently, like, hey, when somebody does 12,500, how does it look? Well, the way that your push goes is you've got week 1, week 2, and then you've got 3 days, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, that it finishes. So there's technically 3 weeks, but it's not really. It's 2 weeks and then this little sprint. And what usually happens, $12,500 push looks like this. It's like $3,000 in week 1. Week 2, it's like 6,000. And then in week 3, which is 3 days, it's about 3,500. Now that might sound weird because you're like, wait, the whole first 7 days, I only sell $3,000 and then I double it. It's like, yeah, that's actually what happens. And the reason that happens is because people get their sea legs underneath them. They're used to pushing. They're used to the mornings. They're used to asking for the order. They're used to implementing the package options that we're going to teach you guys. They're used to asking for cookware, flatware. They're used to asking for the best leads. There's so many different things that you guys implement in week 1 of the push that then you get great at for week 2. All right. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to take that number, whatever it was. So again, what I asked you is if you had 200 fresh callable leads and you called all 200 on that all day phone jam, how many would you book? Okay, so you have that number, right? Everybody got that? I want you now to multiply that by 2. And odds are a lot of you, that's where you're going to finish in terms of number of appointments for the push, somewhere in there. Now, once in a while, so if you take like, when Jack Ryan did 103 demos last year during SC2, he didn't book 50 at the all-day phone jam. In fact, I'm not sure what his numbers were. I think it was like 15 to 20, but he was just so good at phoning every day, right? Okay, so you have a number. Does everybody have a number? Might be a big number, right? Might be 80, might be 60, might be 50. Okay, now what I need you to do after that, you're going to take that number and I want you to multiply it times whatever you think your sales ratio is. Okay, so sales ratio, that is, hey, if I sell half the time, I'm a 50% sales ratio, right? If I sell 6 out of 10, it's 60%. Okay, so that number, right? So I'm doing some math here. If I've got 80 was my first number and I'm a 60% seller, that's 48. So what that means, that's the number of orders that I should be getting on my push period. Don't worry, there's a purpose to me doing this, right? This has to do with names list, trust me. So that, I want you to multiply that number times your average order. If you don't know what your average order is, you can use 350. Okay, so write that number down. That number, theoretically, is what 200 leads to start the push, plus just following the program I'm going to teach you during the push would result in for you. Now, the part of this that matters so much is I need you to figure out what you'd earn from that. Now, this is sometimes where people get kind of on the struggle bus here with some math. All right. So give me an example. I'm gonna pick somebody here. Let's see, Alyssa Rengo. You've won the lottery. Step on up. All right, Alyssa, I'm gonna throw you up here. Okay, Alyssa, did you have a number?
I got to the multiplying the sales ratio, but I didn't get the final one.
Okay, so let's just take it from there. So Alyssa, what was the number of demos?
Number of demos, 40.
Okay, and did you double that or no?
Yes, 80.
Okay, so 40, and then your sales ratio, what did you figure for that?
Currently about 60%.
Okay, so that puts you at 24 orders, and then what do we think your average order is? I can look it up. Would that be helpful?
Yeah, probably.
And guys, just so everybody knows, any of your average orders, your manager can look it up pretty easily.
Well, Alyssa only sells homies and ciggies, so.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually about right. Your average order is $1,011. Okay, I'm not going to use $1,011 for this, right? So 24 orders, I'll use 500 as an average order. So that's 12,000, okay? Which leaves you a lot of room for being on the high side of this. Does that make sense? Because I cut it down so much. All right, you're at 3K in sales right now, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so how do you figure out how much somebody makes? Well, if she's at 3K right now, and then the next 3, so of the 12K that you sell, the first 3K would be at 20%. Okay, so this is where some of that math is kind of tough here. So that's $600. The next 4K that you sell would be at 25%, and that'd be $1,000. And then the last 5K you'd sell is at 30%, and that'd be $1,500. So for the push, Alyssa, you'd get paid $3,100. So everybody figure out your number. If you need a little help with this, talk to your manager on this. Some of you guys, some of your numbers is like $5,000 to $10,000 to $15,000, right? Like I can see some of you like that are on my screen. I'm like, oh yeah, for sure. Like if you're already over 30%, some of you are already in a bonus. When you do the math on this, it's like, it's massive. So this is what I want you to understand. This is where this ties back into names list. Alyssa, if there was some crazy thing going on where I said, hey, Alyssa, if you show up tomorrow at 6 p.m. with 200 leads, fresh leads, I have $3,100 cash for you. If you show up with $199, you get $0. Would you find a way to get to 200 contacts if there was $3,100 sitting here on a desk for you tomorrow at 6 p.m.?
For sure.
And this is what I want you guys to understand. It's like, that's what matters with names list, is that motivation to get it. Right? So I did Alyssa's here. Your manager, by the way, is more than happy to spend 3 minutes with you after this call to do this with you real quickly. Thank you, Alyssa. So the question then is, and again, you know, what I would say to you is if I gave you $2,000 tomorrow to show up with 200 names, I bet you could do it. I bet if it was 1,000, if I said there's 1,000 cash right here for you for 200 fresh leads, I bet you could figure it out. You'd spend all day doing it because I think all day is worth $1,000. But what I want you to understand is that the value is here. Yes, we earn it in the push, but that names list is what unlocks everything. So you have to start shifting. You have to start shifting your focus from what, you know, instead of focusing on what you don't have, start focusing on what you want to create. You can do this. Guaranteed you can come up with 200 fresh leads. So let me review from last week, okay? So number one, and the reason I'm doing this, there's a couple people that maybe weren't on last week, but the real reason I'm doing this is I think most people last week, when they heard these things, they're like, oh, that's great. Yeah, this could work. And then they don't take a lot of action on it. And so let this be a reminder of like, hey, let's go right now on this. So number one is directories, right? Did you search? Did you actually search for directories, or did you just kind of like open one cupboard and say, nope, I don't see anything? Searching means going through everything. You know, when I'm thinking about my house, if my kid was looking for a directory, they need to go through the kitchen. They need to go through we've got some stuff in like the living room, some drawers of stuff, and then they need to come to my office. Right? And really go searching for directories. And then it's asking for help. Church, sports, school, neighborhood. Guys, we're not looking for one fell swoop, one like 201 directory. It's like, no, sometimes it's 10 here, 10 here, 10 here, and that stuff adds up. The second thing and the third thing are similar. It's Facebook and LinkedIn, and it's sending those messages. So if you need the message again, right? The message that Curtis used, right? I'll throw it in the chat here again. Now, here's what I mean by the messaging. Some of you guys might have said, well, you know, I don't really have a ton of people, so I sent a few messages. Remember what I said yesterday? It's not about your network. It's yours and. So one of the things that I identified with you last week was that, hey, look, we are 1 degree of separation from thousands of people. And so what we need to do is we need to access that network with permission. The key to this is asking, sharing your goal and asking. Right? So here's what I mean. Hey, mom and dad, I'm in it. So instead of saying, can I message people on your network? That's really easy to say, wait, what? No. Instead of, hey, mom, dad, I want to tell you about this contest that's starting with Cutco. Some of your parents were on Parents Night, which I know helped. Right? If you want, we have a recording of that. If you want to sit down and watch that with your parents, I think that could be helpful. But in that, it's sharing like, hey, we have this push period coming up and I'm trying to do as much as I can. I actually have the opportunity for these 2.5 weeks for me to earn $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, right? Whatever the number is, 10,000, something like that. But I need your help. I need 200 contacts to get started. I'm not asking mom or dad for you to do the work for me. Would it be okay if I sent messages that look like this to people that are in your network? Would you be okay with that? That's how you ask. It's telling them why it matters to you, telling them what you get from it. And then it's asking. So I want to encourage you this week. And when I say this week, I mean today. I want you to really hone in on these things today and say, I know I can make this work. Okay. So these are the, review things from last week on did you do any? Now, what I'm interested in, if you want to throw in the chat, anybody who added some this last week, I would love for you to crowdsource real quick, throw in the chat with how many you've added and the main resource that you used. Even if it was, I added 10, I added 20, throw it in the chat. Let me know how you found it. And if you want the parents recording, send me a message here. Kathlena, thank you for sending. I'll send an email over to you. Danielle got 20 from Facebook. I love that. 10 from Facebook. Great. So again, remember, don't just access yours, but who else's Facebook can you access? Guys, last week we had time on our side. We had 3 weeks. Now we have 10 days basically from right now. Do you guys realize that we have 10 days before the all-day phone jam? So we really got to, be adding resources to our list. 7 from an Urbandale directory. Great. Faith, 30 recommendations, right? Doing demos and getting leads is a way to do it. 16 from a school directory. Nice. 15 from a group that he's a part of. 10 from a swim directory. So little bits here and there, those things add up. All right, let's talk about some new things to do. Okay. Oh, but before I get into the new kind of like resource and assignment for this week, what I need you to do, I want you to look right now, what's your total up to? And I need you to send that to your manager right now. How many are you up to? Nice, Danielle, you're on there twice. How many, what's your callable list up to? Send that number to your manager. If you don't send it to them today, they're going to ask you today anyways. Like it's on their list of things to do is ask everybody on their team how many contacts that they're up to. So beat them to it, send them a message. Here's how many I have right now. And if you're in my office, by the way, Minneapolis, you can just message me on here. I'd love to see it. So I'm going to give you a second to do that, 1 more minute, and then I'll get to like today's lesson. All right. Let's go through and I'm going to show you something that's a little different. And what I'm going to show you how to do here is I'm going to show you how to create a neighborhood directory. All right. So for this, we have to use some technology. So I'm going to do some screen share here. And on top of that, I'm also going to do, so there's 2 websites that we need to use here. Okay. So one, go ahead and write down as Google Maps. Okay. So here we go. So this is how you get resourceful. Okay. So I'm going to go to Google Maps. And what you need to type in here. So I'm going to use my old address. Okay. So here you go. So here's where I used to live. Okay. And here's what you can do. You can create your own directory. So here's how you would do this. All right. Now, some of you live in maybe rural area. You could still do this in a rural area. No big deal. This is obviously in Minneapolis. So, there's a lot of homes around. All right. Google Maps is going to give me information on the actual house address of every house on my street. And then I would go to whitepages.com, type in the address, and I can find who lives there. right? So you're just making a directory essentially is what you're doing. Now, so I would take a, some sort of a spreadsheet and I would type in each one. So watch here. So if that one's my home, let me go to the neighbor. So there we go. I got 5209 2nd Avenue. All right. So let's see here. I could copy 5209. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to whitepages.com. Okay, on whitepages.com, this is where it's just like an online phone book, right? So you could do people search, you could do reverse phone. So you could look up somebody by a phone number, you could look up somebody by an address or a business search. So we're going to do address. And I'm going to do 5209 2nd Avenue South, Minneapolis, Minnesota. Search. And it tells me who lives there. Now, I'm neighbors, like these are my old neighbors, so I know who they are. Okay, so Timothy Lynch, I'd click on him. And then it brings me landlines. The landlines are often not 100% accurate. And then there's a way for me to get a cell phone. Now, all this is public information. It's on whitepages.com. They'll always have landlines for free. If you want to view the cell phone number, right, you've got to pay for a premium account. So, premium account. How much is a premium account? Let's see here. So, what you can do here with premium account is for 200 lookups, research, right? 200 phone numbers, it would cost you $20 a month and you can cancel it after 1 month. So if this was something that you wanted to do, you could, oh, I got a special offer. Look out, try it for $1. But the idea here is that what you're doing is you're using technology to make your directory, right? So you could do this for your current neighborhood. You could do this for your past neighborhood. And a lot of these people, and just so that you know, your manager can actually, and has scripts, like phone scripts that you can use that vary a little bit. So let's say you're going to call somebody from a country club directory. You would reference that in the phone approach. Let's say you were going to call from somebody that you researched the number and found it online. You would say, hey, this is so-and-so from down the street. I live in the White House, or my parents live in the White House. Right? So there's little nuances to the script that we can teach you that will allow you to be able to make a connection with these people pretty quickly. Okay? All right. John, I just saw your response now. So what's great with this is this gives you an opportunity to go and actually, be able to show to people that live around you, because you might not have a directory, you might not have all their phone numbers. There might be people that you wave to on a regular basis, but you don't actually have all their phone numbers. When I was doing this last night, the street that I live on now that we moved to, it's like, I have one of their phone numbers because he's a retired electrician that comes and does some work at our house once in a while. But the rest of them, I don't have their phone numbers. But I wave at all of them all the time, but I can get their numbers this way. So this is a way for you, and I'm just using this as a neighborhood one, but obviously you could get creative if you wanted to with this. If you have any questions on this, throw it in the chat. So again, if you wanted to do this, you would have to throw down the, Ashlyn, if you did want to do the looking up the cell phone number, you do have to pay that, $20 would get you 200, searches. And that would probably be enough. And then you could cancel it. Now, that signing up for those programs, like a whitepages.com, it is a recurring thing. So when you're done, you do need to cancel it. Otherwise, it's going to charge you again next month. Does that make sense? Make sure when you sign up, you use my promo code. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. That was a bad joke. Last couple things when it comes to the thought jogging stuff. So let me give you some assignments for today. Okay. What I'm trying to do is layer in different resources and solutions for you. So what you should have right now on your list of things to do, number one is message your manager with how many that you currently have, if you haven't already done that. Number 2 is go back to the things that we did yesterday. Search for directory, ask for directories, ask for help and access to other people's Facebook and LinkedIn, right? You're not asking to log into their stuff. You're asking if it's okay for you to message their network. Okay. So those things have got to be on there before this. The next thing is doing a reverse address, directory. This one, the one I'm giving you today, that's not going to get you 100, right? Does everybody understand that? This is the one I gave you today should get you an extra 20, and you can go however many streets out that you want. I had a guy a handful of years ago, Wes Erickson, and I had told him this. He came to the all-day phone jam ill prepared, and I was like, what are you doing? I said, did you do the neighborhood thing? He said, no, I guess I didn't understand it. And so I made him sit there, and he got an extra 25 numbers at the all-day phone jam and then started calling those and got presentations. He just said, hey, this is Wes Erickson, son of blah, blah, blah. And they said, oh, hey, how are you doing? And he booked demos. So that stuff works. You just got to make sure that you spend time on it ahead of time. The last thing I want to put on your radar is one of the easiest ways is for you to actually send DMs on Snapchat to your friends to ask for parents' contacts. This works really well. Will you have some people that don't give them to you? Yeah, totally. Is that okay? Absolutely. Right? But you can't be bashful to ask so again, all this goes back to what I opened with today. If I were standing there at 6 p.m. tomorrow with a wad of cash, here you go. If you got to 200, I think you'd get over a little the discomfort, right? I think you'd say, yeah, whatever. No big deal. I've got big goals and I get a lot out of this, so I'm going to do this. So managers, if you want to throw something in the chat on a DM, there you go. John just threw one in the chat there that you guys can use. But we've had plenty of representatives that have done this and gotten a lot of leads. Also, in Vector Impact or in Q, whichever one that you use, there's a way in the friends category for you to send a text to the people that aren't customers that ask for their parents' contact info. Another really easy way. So this is what I want you to understand. There you go. Isaiah doesn't hardly use it. Snapchat, he got 12 last week from doing this. So what I want you to understand, send some snaps. Maybe you get 20 from that. Do the reverse address search. Maybe you get 20 from that. Send Facebook messages. Maybe you get 20 from that. Send LinkedIn. Maybe you get 20 from that. There's 80 right there additional to any directories that you get. Any help from mom, dad, siblings. But we can't wait. It can't be like, hey, mom, dad, can you help me? And they're like, yeah, I'll get to it. Right now, you can't count on those until you actually have them. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. You absolutely can do this with if you're older, with your kids, friends, parents as well. All right. I believe in you. I know anybody can get to 200 if they really wanted to. And that was the purpose of the first part, was finding the motivation to get it done. You guys have the 4th of July weekend this weekend. Take advantage of that. The average order goes up a ton during the 4th of July holiday, right? There's a newsletter contest that's happening right now. You guys are in an 8-day pay cycle. So the week doesn't end on Monday. It actually ends on Tuesday this week because Monday's a holiday because the 4th is on Sunday. So your guys' week ends on Tuesday, not Monday. Does that make sense? So build it up. Have a really awesome paycheck. Last thing before you guys take off, this coming Tuesday on the 6th, 2 p.m. to 4:30 is the MVP prep meeting. And that's where we're going to teach you all the stuff on how to have a big push. That's from 2 to 4:30 on Zoom. Burt Wicks is going to help teach. Colleen Dolan is going to help teach. Elliot James is going to help teach. These are individuals that have all had massive push periods, 20K plus. So that's going to be from 2 to 4:30 on the 6th. And then we'll do our third session of this next Thursday morning. Talk to your manager. I'm looking for confirmations of who's in the alliance this week. So talk to your manager. Let them know if you're in. All right, guys. Thank you for your time this morning. Good luck hunting and creating your list. We'll talk to you guys soon. See ya.